Hello, and welcome back to the Modeling Success in Action podcast. I'm your host, Jessica, and today I am joined by the fantastic Jennifer Kolbuc. Jennifer spent over 15 years creating social media and digital marketing strategies for businesses of all sizes. She's the owner of Mountaintop Consulting and the co founder of the Marketing Club membership, a membership inspired to help small business owners be empowered in their marketing. Businesses hire Jennifer when they realize that it's time to get social media and digital marketing strategy in place for their business. She loves to keep it real for her clients and is known for her fast talking and endless social media ideas. Excellent. This is going to be fun. We're both fast talkers.
Yeah,
Welcome to
exactly.
the show, Jen.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, Jessica.
So, I know we kind of put it out there in the intro, but the reason that I reached out to you is because I see you on my social media feed all the time. You are there. You showing up like, almost daily is, at least that's how it feels to me, is that I'm seeing your content. And I was going, oh my God, I've been watching this woman and I get her newsletter. I'm subscribed to her newsletter. If you're listening to this and you're not subscribed to her newsletter, do it. It's the most valuable newsletter that I've ever received.
Well, thank you for that.
Like seriously, because you give real things that people can take action on. Like, and I mean, God knows that Meta loves to throw a new algorithm at us, right? And so and so when we're trying to like navigate all this stuff, your advice has been really invaluable. So the fact that you show up all the time is what I reached out for. So I'm gonna kind of pass this over to you and let us know how did you start doing that for yourself? How did you get on my feed every single day?
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I mean, the first thing I want to throw to listeners here is, I mean, it's so great to hear that somebody feels like I'm showing up every day because I actually don't post every day, but it's a really good reminder of how the algorithm works, right? So for anyone listening going, oh my gosh, this person posts 7 days a week, full disclosure, never have, never do. But I do try to find what I call my consistency. And consistency for me means typically on Instagram, I'm going to say 3 to 5 posts a week. I usually don't post on the weekend. Over on LinkedIn, I do try and post about 5 days a week on LinkedIn, but also reminder, I work in social media. This is my job. So if consistency for you looks a little bit less, that's okay too. One of the things I find with consistency, and I know we're going to dive in a little bit more, is it's almost easier to keep the ball rolling once it's in motion. I find with a lot of business owners I work with, when you're not posting on social media at all, you kind of get stuck in this inertia place. And then it gets
Mhm.
really hard to get going again because you judge yourself more harshly on every single post. You get stuck with perfectionism. And then often what happens is you kind of end up freezing up and not posting at all.
Well, it's like that, the objects in motion stay in motion, right? But it's
Yeah,
getting that
exactly.
first bit of momentum happening to get the ball rolling that can be kind of difficult. So how did you get your ball rolling?
How do I get the ball rolling?
Yeah.
I think, I mean, one, this again, this is my job, so I do all the time, is I really think about, and this is kind of my acronym, like MVP, not your best post. What is your minimum viable post for the day?
Ooh.
And kind of taking it down a layer. I think when you try and post, let's say, with the clients I work with, like, I only want to post once per week. Then they think that post has to be perfect. It has to be crammed full of every single possible piece of information. When you actually post more, then I don't judge myself as harshly on every post. I throw a lot more things at the wall. I try out funnier things because I'm like, I don't need every post to land. I'm not judging myself on every single post. I'm kind of judging myself on the cumulative total. Like looking back at the last month, did my content move me forward? Did I get more followers, more engagement? Did I drive more leads? But I'm looking at that a lot more holistically than like, Monday's post failed, so therefore I'm a failure. Um, when you post more, it almost becomes easier because I just throw a lot more things out into the wind. I feel like lately, right now, if you're listening to this in the summertime, I feel like in the summertime, especially now, we're looking for lighter content. We're viewing the content from the beach maybe or from the lake, and so I throw out my by far my lightest, funniest content in the summer. And it's kind of what resonates the best. It's not a always an in-depth carousel about marketing trends. It's just kind of a lot lighter, funnier stuff. And that's what seems to work. But if I was only putting out one post a week, I'm not sure I would experiment as much with some of that maybe sillier or lighter content.
Yeah. So when you look at that, like translating that to, beyond social media and just how that looks in the world, right? When anyone's trying to do anything in life, right? The more tries you're giving it, the more, chances you're taking, the better, chance you're having of success, rather than trying to make that one thing, right? How many people sit frozen in indecision and debate in their own minds because they want it to be perfect before they take any action, right?
Yeah.
This really makes me think of like my weight loss clients, especially, right? Because they're like, but if I'm going to do this, I got to be like commit. I got to be like a full hour at the gym, right? And I got to be, getting a trainer, or like, in this one hit class and like they're making it all of like, they're putting so much pressure on this
Yeah.
one thing that it actually sabotages any, advancement at all.
Yeah, I love that too. I'm someone
Yeah.
who also I work out most days, but when I tell people I work out every day, my workout every day doesn't mean going to the gym for an hour every day. It could mean doing a 20-minute something at home in my living room. It can mean going for a long walk at lunch. It just means that my commitment to me is I move my body every day. And some days that's going to be going to the gym for a full session. And some days that's going to be 20 minutes at lunchtime, right? But it's easier to stay consistent when I give myself that minimum viable post, minimum viable exercise to go like, did I move my body today? Did I get something out today? That's way easier to, be consistent and give yourself some forgiveness when those days, like no one's going to the gym for an hour a day. Nobody's got that kind of time, or most people don't. But giving yourself the grace to be like, what if I just went for a walk for 20 minutes? Okay, that feels a lot more doable. What if I made a quick, easy post on Instagram? What if I just reposted a piece of content? Again, spoiler alert, that counts on Instagram. It doesn't always have to be reinventing the wheel when it comes to content.
Yeah. And nobody's going to notice that it's like, I've even caught myself sharing the same post that I sent to a friend like a year later. I see it again. And I'm like, oh yeah, and then I look back and I'm like, I already sent that. Like, you don't remember, like our ability to like keep hold of all the information that's in the world these days is like,
Yeah.
it's not going to happen. So
Exactly. We're
being,
scrolling through like 10,000 social
yeah,
media posts a day. No one remember
yeah,
what you post last week, which is
no,
both terrifying, but also should be freeing to go, you know what? If your content sucked last week, no one remembers. Great news. Today, this is a fresh new week to try something else. But on the flip side, if you had some great content that you posted a few months back, post it again. Post the same content again. You don't always need to come up with something new. And actually, the best way to stay consistent is to have a couple of key messages that you just repeat over and over again. It's not about coming up with out of the box thinking all the time. It's really just having a couple key consistent messages that you just keep sharing.
yeah. Well, I mean, repetition is the mother of all learning. And like, how many times do you have to hear something or see something before you do it? Right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. It's got to be
yeah,
like 57 by now.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So, then can you give us an idea of, like where in your life that maybe, you had that experience where you're like, I want this one big thing, but you had to break it down into those minimum viables. Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. I think we were kind of chatting about this earlier. So, a lot of the clients I work with, they're often looking at like they want to launch a thing, a course, a membership, maybe a podcast. And a lot of times they're waiting, they're making this big marketing plan and they want it to launch, they want it to be perfect. And again, they often get frozen in inaction. And so I launched or co-launched a membership called the Marketing Club, as you mentioned earlier on, about 3 years ago. And to be honest, like I was that person where I was like, okay, it's going to be this big thing. I've got to do all this research. It's going to take months and months. And at that time, another woman who I worked quite a lot with, her name is Brittany Hardy. She was thinking the same thing. She might launch a membership. So she was like, what if we launched it together? And I was like, ooh, I actually really like that idea. That would be great. So then I was like, okay, let's sit down. Let's map it out. Let's put all these things in place. And this was in May. And she goes, what if we just launched it next week? And I was like, you are crazy. I mean, it's crazy, but I like it. And that's what we did. We launched this very minimum viable product launch that we did. And it was that exactly like rip off the Band-Aid. We actually run a workshop on this where we show the original launch. And like our sales page was like, just picture like one image and one block of text with like a stripe button. That's it. Like it was very as low tech as one could have imagined. There was no tech integrations, no back end. Her whole process was like, well, what if we just threw the idea out there? We'll just test it and see if anybody's even interested in this concept. And then once people sign up, we'll just make a membership about it. Like we quite literally had nothing
Yeah.
when we launched it all. And so that's what we did. And we actually got 20 members who signed up right away. They were our founding members. And then we were like, oh my gosh, now we have a membership.
Now we have to do something for these people.
Now we have to do something. But it was really great. That was 3 years ago, 20 members. Today we're over 100 members inside the marketing club. We've passed six figures in revenue. But if we had done it my way, which was the like, let's make a business plan and let's map out and let's make sure we have all of our ducks in a row before we launch. Honestly, we probably would have never launched it. But because we took much smaller action, it just like it got that ball rolling, like you said, like it got that momentum to go, okay, viable idea. We've got some paying people. Let's get started. And when we started the membership three years ago now, it was a much smaller version of what we have today. Again, we didn't have it all mapped out. We kind of had a couple of ideas of a couple of the calls we were going to have. We had no tech background, no Facebook group, no support channels, nothing. But then every month we just kind of worked it out and added the next thing and added the next thing. So by about a full year in, I feel like we actually had like our ducks in a row. We had some of the back end tech set up and we had migrated members over. But it was much easier to do in a smaller, consistent action way than trying to launch this whole big thing and already paying for all the tech pieces up front, which I often see business owners do. It's like, what if we just make a basic landing page, see if there's interest, and then we can figure out the tech as we go.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm like, it's the make it exist, then make it good thing. And trusting that, the members, those 20 founding members, right? They were trusting that you were going to start, giving them what they needed, right? And you were trusting that you're going to figure out what they needed and how to give it to them, right? Did you
Yeah.
did you have any of those original founding members get all pissed when all the bells and whistles came down the line and they're like, "Well, why weren't those there the day I signed up?"
Right? No, not anyone. In
Right?
fact, I mean, especially in that kind of a launch, like your first members or first supporters or first, people in your groups are often your biggest supporters anyway. So we were lucky that these were all clients that I had worked with or that Brittany had worked with. And so they knew us really well, that we knew we'd figure it out. And they were getting the best deal ever. They were seeing us build it from the ground up, but they were locked in at, the founding member price. And then for them, we just kept adding more value and more value over time, which of course made it a no-brainer. And 3 years in, we actually still have several of our founding members to this day are still members inside the marketing club.
Yeah. How many members do you guys have now?
So we have over 100 members. There's a
Oh,
few sub memberships now, so I don't have the numbers kind of broken down. But it's been great. I think we've had over 200 people go through the membership. Like people join, at different times in their businesses. But we have over 100 current active members.
that's pretty cool from something that wouldn't have existed.
Yeah, exactly. Right. If you had waited to make it perfect or make it the big thing first, I'm not sure it would ever even be here. And with every launch, we're always like, we'll just figure that out as we go.
Mhm. So when you look at like doing that, can you see other places in your life now that that's been the lesson where you're like, okay, cool, where else can I do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in a lot of business stuff, it's a lot of the time I feel like you either have to rip it off like a band-aid or just kind of like just try little things. I feel like when you just kind of take these small actions, like one of my goals has been to speak more on stage, and I've had some of those opportunities. And so when you just kind of keep showing up this way and putting it out consistently, and then I just built out a speaker package. I was like, well, maybe when somebody requested it once, I was like, yes, I have a speaker package. I will send it to you tomorrow.
Yeah,
And then I just had to build
go
like a
make
web
it.
page, and I just built it, right? Because I was like, obviously, I have that. I will send that to you shortly. And then you just make it up as you go. I was like, what is a speaker package? I'll
Yeah,
have to
thank God for
research this.
chat these days.
Right. And then I just looked it up and just made it. And you just have to it's
Yeah.
always easier. I find as long as you're within the realm of your abilities, like saying yes and then kind of figuring it as you go. I'm not saying we should oversell our things and things we're completely not qualified in, but often for that next step, it's kind of like, no, I could figure that out. Like I could
Yeah.
figure out how to build that thing or make that. I've just got to kind of just get it done.
Well, could you imagine if we went our whole life only doing things that we'd really done before?
Right. I mean, you would never do the next thing.
You'd never do the next thing, right?
Yeah.
So in some places, in some areas of our lives, like we're already doing that thing. And a lot of people aren't giving that, the same kind of respect as realizing that they could do it in business. They could do it in relationships or wherever that next thing needs to be, right? Because you're
Yeah.
walking, you didn't stay your whole life on the ground. At some point, you had to crawl and then get up,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've asked this question to a few people who come on because it really does come up a lot. And I feel like it's a pretty strong thread that goes through pretty much every successful person's life. And that is faith. So how does like trust and having some faith in things working out, how does that factor into your world?
Oh, that is good. And especially, I mean, My co-host Brittany is all about the, like, trust in the universe. I feel like she's been a bit of my mentor, on some of those things. I think there's for me, there's kind of 2 things. Like when I worked at a corporate job before I worked for myself. And I remember, it was a really great corporate job. Honestly, I have no complaints about it. It just didn't fill my cup anymore. And I knew I wanted to take this leap to work for myself. And so I had some like little side projects on the side. I was working my corporate job. And then I had my second child, and I was on maternity leave. And I was like, I don't want to go back. Like, this is the break time. And I think at some point you just have to go, I have to take this leap of faith, right? And I remember, my husband's a little bit more, I want to say like a little bit more traditionally conservative, maybe in that area than I am. But I was like, okay, the best case scenario is this works out and I fulfill my life dream of working for myself. The worst case scenario is it doesn't. And then I just get another job. Like, that's not so bad, right? I'm like, if that's the worst case scenario, that I just, I try this for a bit, whether that's 6 months or a year, and I don't meet the revenue that we need to live our life and pay our bills, then I could get another job. Like, I was just kind of confident in myself to go, I will just get another 9 to 5 job, or I'll get some part-time jobs, or I'll string some things together, I will try it differently. So I think it's like looking inside yourself and believing that, like, yes, I could do this, and looking at the pros and the cons. And if the pro is like, there's the dream here, and if I had the fallback plan. So I think having that faith to know, like, if this doesn't work, well, I will just make a plan B. And if B doesn't work, I'll make a plan C, and we'll just keep going till one of those plans works. But I think there are these moments where the stars kind of do align. And that kind of happened when I left my corporate job. The way that I left my job and I was able to leave my job, I was like, this is the message from the universe. And I was actually sitting down with Brittany, and Brittany was like, Jen, that's exactly what you wanted, isn't it? And I was like, it was. It
Yeah.
was what I wanted, and they gave it to me. And you actually get terrified when the universe shows up and they're like, what if I did get all the things I wanted? And
Yeah.
now I have
Now
to
I
do the
actually have to
thing.
do
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we actually call it with my kids, we call it, are you nervous? Are you excited? And so we made up this word
Yeah.
called nersighted, when you're like
Nearsighted.
nervous, but for something good. Sometimes you're nervous and excited. So I'm like, when you feel that emotion, I'm like, it's because you're like on the edge of like the next thing, the next breakthrough, taking that leap, whatever that is. So like, it's a good reminder that when you're feeling that in your whether that's your gut feeling or your faith feeling, that like, oh, it's scary because it's new, but it's probably the right next thing to kind of do. So that was kind of like this leap I had to make when I left, what was a great corporate job. But I think you kind of look at, I really live a philosophy of like, life is short, like if you don't do things now, no one's coming to save you later. And I was like, I either do this now, this is the momentum I have behind me, it's the time to do it now. And if I don't, I'll probably never have this momentum again to do it, because it would be a lot easier to go back to a corporate job and stay there and have all the perks of that. And so that was I guess 6 years ago, actually. Coming up to this fall was actually 6 years ago. And I just know it's the right direction. I'm like, now I just knew this was the path, that things could change again. I don't know where the future might take me, but I do feel like sometimes there's these little signs where you have to be like, oh, this is the moment, or this is the thing.
Right. But you kind of have to be looking for them, right? Because in life, we're
Yeah.
filtering for stuff, right? And if we're filtering for those possibilities, those opportunities and those moments that we want to take action on, we're going to see more of them. But if you're thinking to yourself, oh, well, no, like I'm stuck here and it's not for me, or it needs to all the stars need to align first, right?
Yeah,
Then you're going to
absolutely.
miss them, even if they come
Yeah.
along.
Well, and it's it's kind of like the chicken and the egg. Like, the reason the moment came along was because I was already doing the work, right? Like,
Yeah.
I was already put the work in, and then the universe showed up. So I think to that point, like, you can't sit around and like lay on your couch and go, well, like the perfect opportunity will come up. It's like, no, the perfect opportunity will come up when you already start showing up, believing it will come up, and you're putting in the work and you're showing up, and
Yeah.
then it will come up, and then you'll notice it. But if you don't have if I hadn't already been working on, my side hustle at that time for a few years, I probably wouldn't have made that leap to quit my corporate job. But I had a couple years in the bank. I had some systems down. I had built a website. I had some clients. So then when the opportunity came, I was ready for it. So you definitely have to be looking for those opportunities, but also like doing the things, right?
Yeah.
It's like you have to go to the gym to get into shape. You can't just look at the gym. You have to actually go to the gym and put
Yeah.
in the reps. And then when the time is right, those opportunities will present themselves.
Totally, right? It's like believing that it's possible for you to have a fit, healthy body and then going and proving it to yourself by getting to the gym, right?
Yeah,
But first, you got
exactly.
to believe that it's possible to have a fit, healthy body. If you didn't believe that, you're not going to go to the gym. You're going to be like, what's the point? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. That's so awesome. So now, what if somebody wants to start, stepping into your model of the world, maybe even with the social media stuff, because I know that like the landscape of being a business owner or being in business these days is that social media is just part of it, you know? It's
Yep.
just it's just the way it is. We don't place ads in newspapers anymore. We show up on Instagram, right?
Yep.
And people are so resistant to it, right? Or they're creating stories about it or whatever. So like what advice or how would you help these people start to just, get the ball rolling, get that
Yeah.
movement happening?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes it's a little bit, and probably in your world, like that belief in themselves. A lot of people, and especially a lot of the women I work with, are typically women over 40. Some of it's tech stuff, but it's often the belief in themselves. And the good news I tell them is when you start posting on Instagram, no one is going to see your content. This is good news. This is great news. Nobody cares. Nobody's going to see it because you just opened a brand new account, or it's a first time posting in a while. So I'm like, great, get out the crappy content now. Get it out of your system, right? Like, do it awkwardly, because it's a heck of a lot easier to do it awkwardly now when you have 100 followers than when you have 1,000 followers. So why not get it out of your system now? The second thing is that no one is judging you. Like, we don't have that kind of time in the day. I think we're all our own worst critics, right? Like, we all, especially I think as women, we're just gonna have to be so hard on yourselves. And I'm like, no one is judging you. But if no one is seeing you online, then they can't hire you. Like, they can't find you. They can't find your business. They can't find out about the awesome stuff that you're doing. And so I always say, like, don't be the best kept secret in your industry, because no one can find you if they can't find you online, if they can't find your website, if you're not ranking for search and all those things. So, like, let people know that you exist, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people associate social media with, like, well, I don't want to be too salesy. And I was like, oh, so you don't want to help anybody? And then
Yeah.
when I reframe it like that, they go, oh, well, no, I do want to help people. I'm like, but how will they find you if they don't
Yeah.
know you exist? You can't actually show up and do the thing that you're great at, right? So whether that's hypnotherapy or, working with women another way. And I'm like, if you want to help people, they got to find you.
They
So don't
gotta
think
know
of this
you
as sales.
exist.
Think of this as helping show up to be able to help people to transform your community. But if they don't know you, they can't find you, they can't recommend you to their friends, and they can't get that transformation by working with you. So it's a little bit of mindset work to go. It's not sales. It's actually helping. It's actually helping your audience be that best version of themselves, whatever that is.
Yeah. I love it. When you look at it from that angle, it really is like kind of the most ethical thing you can do in your business, right? Because if you truly believe in your business and you truly believe in the services you provide and, that they can help people and that it is a worthwhile product, then keeping it a secret is kind of like
Yeah.
shitty,
Yeah, I love that approach. It's
right?
exactly
Like,
that. Yeah, there's a
yeah,
quote about that. Like,
yeah,
it is like selfish to keep your secrets, like your stuff to yourself, right? It's
yeah.
like, no, get it out there. Let people know that you exist so that you can help people. And your business should make money. Because if your business doesn't make money, then you don't have a business anymore. And so we need to make sure we're getting the right people to your business, that you can help and support them. They can leave you raving reviews so that you can help and support more people in what you do as a business. And so you're right. Like, it is actually ethical to get in front of as many people as possible and tell them about the awesome work that you're doing.
Right. And then it's giving them the choice, right?
Yep.
Because maybe they're in a situation that, is not working for them, but they feel stuck. They don't know there's any other options. If you show up and they're going, cool, awesome, there's possibility now. Right. Yeah. At least, I mean, that's definitely how I feel about the work that I do because nobody knows I exist. Nobody knows that hypnosis can help them. Right. Like it's just totally outside of their awareness. They're, and if they do think that it can help, they're thinking, well, it can help with smokers. And that's probably it. Right.
Yeah.
And so when I'm showing up on social media, when I'm going and I'm doing talks, even running this podcast, for heaven's sakes, like it's my way of helping people see that there's an option for them, right? That there's
Yeah.
something that could help. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. I mean, the social media is only one avenue for marketing, but it is one that, I mean, it's free. It can be easy to use. I know there can be a bit of a learning curve, but obviously there's lots of great resources to get you started. But it's also a really great place to build that community, and if you're working with community locally or an online community, I mean, it's probably the only platform we have where it kind of comes with that built-in community and that built-in support, which is one of the reasons I love social media so much. I mean, you get to meet with people both locally, but around the world. You can connect with other practitioners in your space. And it's just a really fun way, I think, to show off more of like the real work that you're doing in a way that feels really transparent.
Yeah. Right. And I feel like transparency is like such a big deal these days because there's so much in like every now, anytime I look at an image online, my first thought is this real?
Yeah, right?
Like, what am I looking at right now? So yeah, being upfront and transparent, I think it helps to, earn trust with people. I mean, I for one know that when I log on, if I find a new person or a new business or whatever and I'm curious about them, I'm going to go onto their social media. I'm not even necessarily looking at the posts. I just want to see that there are posts there,
Yeah, they exist,
right?
right?
That they exist. Like I'm like, "Oh, I can trust this business. They've been showing up for the past 4 years online. Okay, they're real." Right? Like
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I
it's
think
yeah.
yeah, one of the best compliments I've ever gotten is from, clients who I've met for the first time in person. Because sometimes I work with people for years, or they've been in the membership for years, and then I finally get an opportunity to meet them in person. And I remember for one of the events I ran, I walked in and the workshop person was like, "Oh my gosh, you're exactly like I thought you would be." And I was like, "What a great compliment." She's like, "Yeah, because I see you on Instagram every single day posting, and I see your video content and how you show up is how you are in person." Like, what a great way to build trust and authenticity. So when people are meeting me in real life, they're like, "I feel like I already know you." And I'm like, what a great compliment that is for your marketing, for people to feel like they know you, they know your business. And so if you have the opportunity to work with them, whether that is in person or online, they already know who's going to show up on the other end of that Zoom call.
Yeah, and people do business with people that they know, like, and trust,
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. And especially
right?
more and more these days, right? When it comes down to that trust factor, is this a real business? Have they been around for a while? Social media is a really great way to build up that trust long term.
Totally. Ugh, I love it. So, we're almost out of time here. I'm gonna wrap us up, but, before I do, I actually think that this is a really great time to tell people how they can get going because you mentioned, like, there's lots of resources, and I know that you actually have a few resources, and some of them are free. So can you tell us about those just before we wrap up here?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you mentioned, my newsletter, the best way to get on my newsletter is to download my free content calendar. It's updated for 2025. If you're listening to this next year, there'll be an updated 2026 version. It's got content prompts for every single day and instructions on how to use that. You can grab that from the link here below. You can also check me out on Instagram where I do post a lot of funny content. I'm at Social with Jen, 1N. And the link in my bio has got all those resources as well. If you're curious in the marketing club, it's marketingclub.ca because we are based out of Canada. And that's a paid membership community where we show up every single month to give you support, resources, and tools to get it done. We do run different promotions at different times of the year. So depending on when you're listening to this, there could be a promotion on right now. Head over to the website to check that out to learn more.
Yeah, there are. And she even runs, free classes. She's always running stuff and I've even attended some of them and it helped me create a landing page for my newsletter actually.
Yes, that's
That's
right.
what it
Yeah.
would yeah. So it's really really valuable stuff and so I really highly recommend that you all reach out to Jen. And before you even do that, step into her model of the world, rip the band-aid off, right? Just go
Minimum
take some
viable
action.
post. Think of that.
Minimum
Minimum
viable.
viable post. Yeah.
Exactly. What's the minimum viable action you can go and take today?
I love that. Well, thanks again for having me on.
Yeah. Thanks, Jen. Bye.